Hey everyone, Ray here from the Metal Minutia podcast. A bit of a different episode this time around. Maybe we'd consider it like an EP or a live album if the normal episodes were considered a full length. I don't know if you want to, maybe it's too long a bow to draw. Whatever, doesn't matter. This is a bit different from the normal one. It's just me having a chat with an old friend of mine, Dan, who is putting on a festival, Essence Fest, in Canberra, end of September. There'll be links and all that jazz in the show notes. But yeah, it's sort of a extreme music festival with some, a variety of different things going on. And I wanted to take the opportunity to talk to Dan about it. And it's a pretty exciting festival coming up. I'll be there. Hopefully, a whole heap of you can turn up too. It is, we recorded this on my phone at the front of the Espy in Melbourne, in St Kilda. So there is a bit of noise and that sort of thing, but honestly, you listen to extreme music, do you really, I'm sure you've listened to albums that were recorded on worse kit than what this was, so just bear with it. All right, enjoy. So, welcome, Dan. I did a little bit of Metal Archives-based research on you before coming in today. And so my recollection of meeting you was sort of 06, 07 in the Sword Towards Self Ironwood days, but according to my Metal Archives research, you're on about 19 bands, including live and guests and, other endeavours.
Yeah, there's a little bit of stuff that's not listed there, but yeah.
So 19's calling it short.
A little bit. And thank you very much for having me and sitting down for a chat.
Of course. So we'll say 20. I'll give you an extra 3 if you're saying some unlisted. So 22 bands, and you thought that wasn't enough, and you would do a 2-day festival in Canberra as well, which is the premise for this conversation.
Well, the way that the bands work is that they kind of come and go just on a project basis. They're active for a while, and then we do a tour or an album or whatever, and it gets put to sleep. But yeah, you're right. I am busy. I like keeping busy, and I'm slowly learning the life lesson that I should perhaps pursue the cause of being less busy. But not until after September 27th and 28th, which is when I'm holding the Essence Festival in Canberra at the basement. It's called the Baso now, but it's the same venue, the 2-stage venue in Belconnen that many Australian and international metal bands have played, and it's ideal for a festival like this. It's got 2 stages, and so we can have a long show that will go for all of Friday night, the 27th, and all of Saturday day, the 28th. Or from the afternoon onwards, right into the night, and have no clashes and no gaps.
Yeah, so it's back to back, straight one into the other the whole time.
That's the idea. I mean, maybe there'll be a few breathers depending on set lengths, but we're certainly aiming for that.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. And you're right, it is that sort of the main room in particular is nice and big stage but it's been a little while since I've been there, but I assume it's still the case. Ideal spot, and the second stage is good too, and but there's the separation of the two, so one will be line checking and not here. You're not going to get snares coming through on the in a quiet part in the other band set.
I think it'll be okay. I mean, this is the same format that they've used for the Canberra Metal Fest and also Sunburn Festival.
Okay, cool.
So I have to admit that I owe Brad, who organised those festivals, a great debt of gratitude for I guess showing me the template.
And I guess it harkens back to the Metal for the Brain being like Canberra being a sort of a gathering point for Australian underground metal. historically, and
Yeah.
it seems to be coming back in. Yeah, the Canberra Metal Fest has been running a couple of years now, if I recall, and
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. I think Canberra's always a place that's sort of punched above its weight in terms of sort of creativity and musicality of the bands coming out of there. Like, I think of bands like, Alchemist and Armored Angel and later on Psychrist and quite a number of other bands. And I just think that they're bands that kind of like went as far as they could in Canberra and definitely made some international impact in sort of a cult way. I really want to encourage that sense of community amongst Canberra metalheads, because it can be a patchy audience, and I'd really like to say, hey, like this stuff's important, like what's when artists come to town to play, it's worth supporting that, because then they keep doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's more than just metal in this festival, though. Essence is obviously there's extreme bands playing, but then there's all sorts of other stuff happening as well. Do you want to?
Yeah. At the outset, I decided that it would be a good idea to try and have a more diverse festival than purely a metal festival. There's lots of dark and uneasy music that I like that isn't metal. And I kind of thought I'd like to throw that into the mix as well. I know there's lots of people out there who might even come to the festival with not that much of an interest in checking out the metal band. Maybe they'll find something that they like in the metal lineup. But if they come because they're there for the industrial or noise element of what's going on, then that's fantastic as well. And look, it's even a good value ticket, even if you're there for that aspect of the festival rather than the metal bands.
Yeah, it kind of struck me as a bit like Dark Mofo in a way, in that regard, where it's like, odd sort of different types of extreme things which maybe aren't directly related, but there's enough crossover that is interesting for metal people would still check it out, and vice versa.
Yeah, and in fact, the feedback I've been having from at least my sort of friends in the scene in Canberra and stuff is that they're at least as excited to see the noise and
well, it's so rare to see that kind of thing live in Australia that it is, and it's quite intense live, like in a way that the guitars and stuff aren't. But in a different way. Synths overdriving and that sort of stuff is just really cool and intense.
Yeah, I think so. And like the other thing about like seeing, I don't know, like fucking 18 hours of metal over a weekend or something like that is like, I mean, like we love metal. I'm about to go on stage and play metal, but it's not the most dynamic music in the world. Like there's a natural compression that occurs with a distorted guitar amplifier, and by the end of that much of a metal festival, you just like the bands do start to blur into each other simply because of that dynamic squish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas, like, I mean, we'll be seeing some bands using traditional instrumentation, obviously synths, as you mentioned. I just think there'll be plenty of variety and plenty of dynamics to keep people engaged. And it's actually good for the metal bands as well, because it means that the metal has all of the impact it deserves.
Yes.
Rather than like if you go from piano to fortissimo, it's fucking huge. If you go from fortissimo to fortissimo,
gives the heavy bands. The heavy bands seem heavier.
Exactly. So I'm really hopeful and excited about how I hope this doesn't sound like too much for a wank, but how the curatorial aspect of the festival will play out for the audience.
Yeah. No, not a wank at all. It's what we're here for.
So this is the first time I've put on a festival like this, and I'm kind of I'm learning as I'm going, but I'm grateful to the bands because they're asking me sort of questions that need consideration and are kind of like feeding into the organisation of the festival. It's like jazz, baby,
So talk to us about the band. Well, who have we got?
Oh, yeah.
Lineups.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a really important conversation. So, on the Friday night, we've got a Brummelin headlining.
Excellent.
And a lot of people probably know that they're about to put out a new album.
They're going to see him tomorrow night here in Melbourne, actually.
Yeah, great. Okay, Sins of the Father. So, really excited about seeing them play. They're always a really just masterclass in just technique and brutality. Also on the Friday night, we've got Impetuous Ritual from Queensland, who are rumoured to have some portal blood. They play that very dark, churning death metal. It's almost ambient in its effect, I find, because it's so dense and so just like so much of the frequency band is covered. It's just like anyway, it's a feat, and hopefully that will be something really memorable for people as well.
I'm sure it will be.
We got Host playing on the Friday night. That's Nathan, who used to be in the Amenta. He now lives in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales, and he's been doing sort of ambient and industrial ritual sort of music for some years now.
Yep.
And I think he's got Jamie on vocals, who used to be on Lord Chaos.
Yeah, right.
And also Nick Reed is going to be doing live percussion. Nick used to be in his creation back in the day. That'll be cool to see like a full lineup rather than, it's cool to see a single noise artist, but to see noise made live with a few different people in the lineup is great.
Yeah.
Just give something a little bit more sort of visceral to hold on to. Subterranean Disposition from Melbourne, experimental jazz.
I really like those guys.
Yeah.
They've got the sax in there, they've got all sorts of stuff happening, and it's just a little bit.
He's such a well-rounded musician.
Yeah,
and his CV's as long as mine, longer. He's been kicking around the Melbourne extreme music scene since sort of the mid to late 90s. He's just he's excellent, and Midnight Odyssey, a really important band for the atmospheric black metal movement. I think they kind of brought it back in some ways, and it's cool that they happen to be an Australian band. Yeah. And what's particularly incredible about the fact that they're playing at Essence is that
they only just started playing live.
They've only just started playing live, so they're almost 20 years old. Yeah. They've done, I think, 2 European tours now, and I don't think they've played in Australia before.
No, because the first show they played was overseas. So will this be the first Australian show for them?
As far as I'm aware.
And are they doing that with? Because I know that they're normally just one person recording, right?
They've got a lineup.
Yeah. So it will be the same as the European lineup, or
I believe so. Yeah.
Cool.
The Vale are playing, well-known Sydney live stalwarts.
Love the Vale.
Yeah, sort of beautiful crossover between post-punk and doom metal. A little bit of, a few sort of icy black metal flourishes here and there, but I think if you're coming at it from either the post-punk direction, or if you're coming at it from more of a sort of like traditional doom direction, that'll work great for you.
I was actually listening to them this afternoon.
Oh, nice one. Which album?
Both. Well, the two there are... It's two? Yeah, both.
2 full lengths.
Yeah.
I played him on Impermanence.
Yeah, okay, yep.
2013 album.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was appreciating the wide variety that occurs in those albums.
Yeah.
And as you say, that's sort of the different directions you can come from, and
Yeah. Alters is playing, actually quite an early time slot for Alters on the Friday, and the reason I did that is, Alters are, it feels like a bit of a wait to say this because I'm in the band now, but Alters have been for a long time one of Australia's leading death metal bands. and have just gone from strength to strength in terms of like their recorded output, their touring. They played at Maryland Death Fest, or we played at Maryland Death Fest just recently.
Yep.
So I deliberately put them early on the Friday to make sure that we fucking show up early.
It's smart.
And start checking out bands. They're on at 7:30 and there's only one band before them.
So 7 o'clock start on the Friday?
That's correct. Delays have Dangerous Ends. We'll open the doors a little earlier, 6 o'clock or something like that. But Delays have Dangerous Ends are kind of a science fiction or slightly dystopian, I suppose. Improvised ambient thing from Sydney.
Cool.
So think like, sort of Vangelis, Boren and the Club of Core, stuff like that. Sort of, sci-fi noir.
Awesome.
Really, it's beautiful, unique music.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think that'll just be a really nice, gentle way to kind of like ramp up the, like dark, but gentle way to sort of like get everyone into the mood, and then Walters will come on and rip everyone you arsehole.
And they can have a little step back after. I think it's worth noting, actually, while I think of it, I'm pretty sure that Friday's public holiday in Melbourne. So
it is too. Yeah, it's Grand Final Friday.
Yeah. So the Victorians that are going to be heading up, you can head up in the morning and be there in time for the 7 o'clock start.
And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because Canberra's... It's a really great city. People think that Canberra's, dull and full of pollies, and maybe they went there on a school trip or something like that. The pollies aren't ours. The pollies are everywhere else. They just come to Canberra. Like, in terms of its food scene and its bar scene and, like, the actual quality of the cultural institutions that we have and the amount of outdoor living that we have, all of that stuff's really good. Like, I mean, if you wake up a bit hungover on the Saturday morning and you want to go for a beautiful hike, there are walks within the city that will really, like, sort of scratch that itch. Or if you just want to get out of town a little bit, there are beautiful walks just outside of town. You don't have to go far at all. And so over the next little while on the Essence Instagram, I'm going to be putting up some tips and tricks for how to do Canberra, how to have fun in Canberra.
Yeah. I've done the walk around the lake, part of the lake. It was about a 20k thing I did there.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe not. No, maybe I did. Anyway, I think I've greatly exaggerated. I think it was 5Ks.
That huge lineup that we've spoken about is just the Friday. That's just switching between the two stages on the Friday. And on the Saturday, we actually start at 3 p.m. So we'll open doors 2-ish. But at 3 p.m, Street Trash comes on. They're a Canberra band, and people might remember Wretch, which was a grindcore band that was long running in Canberra. Bit of a Canberra live favourite, but they recently split up. A few of those guys have gone on to play like sort of DVD crossover-y sort of
the songs
stuff.
have gotten slightly longer if they've gone grind to thrash.
Yeah, that's right. 5 times as long and 20 BPM slower.
Yeah. A minute 20 now.
Good fun. They're a pretty new band in terms of the live scene, but I've seen them live and they are really great. And the reason I wanted to put them on the bill was I thought they'd really bring that just like party atmosphere to the festival. It's easy to disappear up your own asshole when you're curating a festival like this.
Yeah.
So, I want people to have a bit of fun as well.
Yep.
Then Blightworms are playing. Blightworms are a Canberra band that play like, it's kind of like a grinding black metal or black and grind or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, you'll recognise the drummer. He's been in Plowshare and I think some other stuff as well. We mentioned Sheep Coffins a moment ago.
Very old friend of mine, Troy.
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
From like high school times.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right, because he's from Wollongong, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I think met him in Bombardier in Nowra when I lived down that way many years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen Cheap Coffins a bunch of times. Always a very interesting show, depending on the crowd. It's always some shocked faces.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen them yet, but I've been given to understand that it's a confrontational show. So if you're well, I guess I'm up for being shocked, and I hope you are too.
Yeah. No, it's it's good. It's intense, and it's. I remember him posting a photo before one of the shows of his the MIDI keyboard he has on stage. He plays guitar as well and does vocals, and it was something like it was some mantras to live by, and it was like the last one was like play with passion or something to that effect, and he really embodies that. Like he puts everything into the show, which I really enjoy. Whenever someone fully commits,
Yeah, totally.
and he does that.
Yeah, and he's a really lovely guy as well. Like super intense on stage. I've seen him with Burden Man, but like off stage is just a chief. Soma Plume are playing, a New South Wales band, which is like one of those bands that just like appear fully formed. You know, like these guys are ready for big European
right.
Out of nowhere, they're ready for big European festivals.
Yeah,
they're a world class band, and they're just
awesome,
ready to go. So we're lucky to have them. And again, I'm putting them quite early on the bill because I'm saying to people,
get in,
come early in the day.
Yeah, there's no filler.
That's right, no filler. Every band that's on this bill is there because it's meant to be.
Yeah,
like, there are no accidents
in
the choices that I've made at all. Weekend Sisters are playing, another New South Wales industrial band for fans of bands like Godflesh or maybe Nine Inch Nails, stuff like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. Bit of Typo Negative in there, maybe.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Malignant Aura from Queensland. Malignant Aura, Death Doom band, who I think just they do the genre right. You know? Like, have you seen them play?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yeah.
I saw them most recently in early March with they were supporting Mournful Congregation here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly I could feel the air hitting me from their, like, they were loud and they were heavy, and you could feel the air off the speakers, and it was just really cool.
And it's like, it's heavy, but it's both types of heavy. It's heavy as in like sonically heavy, but it's also really emotive as well.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite things about watching them is that, like, between songs, Tim doesn't he'll announce the next song, but not in the microphone. He'll just yell.
That man is two men in a trench coat.
Yeah.
Black Aleph, who are a really interesting band. That's Lachlan Dale.
Cool.
So he's playing, I think, like primarily Middle Eastern instruments these days.
Right.
He's been a guitarist and a bassist in metal and grindcore bands in Sydney before, but I think these days sort of classical instrumentation from the Middle East is more his thing. And the other members of that band are Peter Hollow, the cellist from Foreplay, and third member whose name presently escapes me, who plays Duff, which I think is like a traditional frame drum. And they play like it's drone. And if you've seen Peter Hollow play with his solo thing, Raven, you'll kind of see how like cello and drone works together. This is, I think, has a little bit more of that Eastern inflection,
and that's really what you were saying before about the intense and then a bit of space, like, for the listener, and just
I think it'll
the frequencies.
Be like it'll still be intense, but intense in a different way.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then we move straight back to intense.
We go back to blast beats.
Well, Whitehorse actually.
Okay.
So not blast beats per se, but like that, just absolutely kind of like excruciatingly heavy sludge with experimental elements. Whitehorse are everyone in Melbourne should know them by now. They're a lifestyle one. They play, probably, a couple of times a month or every month, something like that.
Yep, right.
They're a very charismatic live band. A lot of noise, a lot going on the stage. 6 of them. A lot of good musicianship, making a whole lot of racket.
Awesome.
So, and one of the nice things about Whitehorse is that it's kind of like a tree that you shake and a bunch of other bands fall out of it. So, I'll get to that in a moment. But Blood of a Pomegranate is next up at 7:15. Blood of a Pomegranate is, again, this is kind of this interesting thing of like taking traditional music and doing something new with it. So Tig from Blood of a Pomegranate is Armenian and uses traditional Armenian music to, he fucks with it.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should say they. Apologies to you. It ends up being kind of quite sort of nightmarish music, but also very beautiful and plaintive at the same time. So I think that'll be one to check out for sure. And I really appreciate Tig's efforts from an activist perspective as well. Very sort of politically and socially aware type of person. Lumen Ad Mortem are playing from South Australia. They're an excellent symphonic black metal band that I think, being in Adelaide is a little bit like being in Canberra. You can be a little bit isolated in your own scene. So everyone in Adelaide knows they're fucking great, but they haven't made the splash outside of Adelaide that they deserved to. They used to have Matt Skitz on drums.
Oh, right.
Unfortunately, no more Matt Skitz, but I'm given to understand that the guy that replaced him with is superb. So I think that we'll enjoy them just as much. Then So Discord, which is one of these bands that you shake Whitehorse and So Discord falls out. That's Dave Cohen, the noise guy from Whitehorse. I don't know what he's going to do. He's got such a diverse output. He's got some stuff that's like really noisy, and then he's got some stuff that's like harsh electronica, and he's got some stuff that's kind of like a little bit more, I mean, it's not sort of dancey or anything like that, but it's very much sort of propelled by sort of techno beats.
Right, okay.
So I don't know if he's just going to like rip all our faces off or make us all dance or what, but it'll be a
surprise for everyone.
Yeah. And I'd like to keep it that way as well, so I'm not even going to ask him what he plans to do. Certainly not going to tell him what to do. I just want him to...
Well, I feel like if you tell someone like that what to do, they'll do the opposite.
Yeah. Make it really nice, Dave. Yeah. Make it soft and cuddly. Convulsing is playing.
Nice.
Convulsing is, a lot of people probably now know Brendan from Alters, bassist vocalist of Alters, but before he was in Alters, he had a solo band on his own, Convulsing, and Convulsing is frankly excellent. Death, black, doom. Sounds like it shouldn't quite come together, but it really does. Brendan's a very intelligent musician and songwriter, great musician, and just makes it hang together. And he's got Peter Cosson on bass, who's a wonderful session bassist from Sydney. The drummer situation with Convulsing is a little unresolved. So if you normally it would be Robin Stone, who's they're big shoes to step into.
He can play drums.
He sure can. But Robin's a little busy right now. So Convulsing are on the bill. The plan B is that I'll end up playing drums for them. But I'd like there to be a plan A. So if you're a metal drummer with a bit of guts, then step on up. You've got 2 months to learn a Convulsing set, and I'd really love it if I didn't have to learn that set and play it on the night.
How many songs have you learned so far?
I reckon it's that thing where you kind of like learn 90% of the set and you're just like, but these bits I don't understand.
Yeah, okay.
So...
And that's where, if you don't learn them, they fall apart, or it's okay?
No, it's the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Like, but everything, like, yeah, it needs to be at 100, otherwise it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Mondurte, they're the only international band on the bill.
From Iceland?
That's right. She's from Iceland. I think originally from Germany, but she lives in Iceland now, and she's been performing in Iceland. And so it's going to be kind of like this ritual black metal thing. And we're actually putting her in the small room because we kind of thought that like the intensity of that experience would be heightened if people were really packed in.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So...
is that part of a greater tour?
Yeah, she is playing all over the country. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think she's kind of presently located in Melbourne. I think she might even be coming along tonight.
Oh, right.
We're recording this at the Ulcerate show at the Espy.
Yes. Apologies for the noise.
Yeah, that's not Ulcerate, by the way. Yeah. Carcinoid are playing. We're getting towards the top of the bill now. Carcinoid are a Melbourne Live favourite. Have you seen them?
Haven't, no.
Okay. Yeah, I think, like, for me, in terms of, like, that old school death metal,
yeah.
Carcinoid and Gutless,
yeah, okay.
For me, leading the pack in Melbourne at the moment. I'm sorry I couldn't put Gutless on as well. They're great guys, and if I get to do this festival again next year, I promise Gutless will be on the bill. But this year, I got Carcinoid, and yeah, they're just like excellent, scuzzy, like, yeah, death metal played with feeling, you know?
Yeah,
like,
nice.
Bit of punk attitude. Sulphur Garden, we're getting close to rounding out the night. Sulphur Garden are...
I feel like I saw them fairly recently.
Yeah, right, okay. So again, one of these Whitehorse affiliated bands.
Oh, right, there you go.
So Sean from Whitehorse and Jael from Ignivenous. In fact, Sean was in Ignivenous as well.
Right.
And they're playing like kind of a death industrial, cold meat industry sort of thing. So, and the reason they're right up there near the top of the bill is they're actually like the warm-up introductory act for the headliner on Saturday night, which is Spire.
Nice.
Who are, I guess, kind of like an ambient black metal band. I mean, like, it's energetic music, but it's very atmospheric music. You might have seen Spire at Crashing Party. Oh, Pete from Whitehorse has just turned up.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, so Spire rounding out the night. I'm playing drums for Spire.
Yep.
We've got a really good set lined up for the bill. Yeah, partly the genesis of this festival was just about like having my own bands play in my hometown, but I didn't want that to be like the focus of the festival.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I mean, it's nice that we finally get to do this because I play fucking all over the place with these bands.
Yeah.
And not in Canberra. But what I really wanted was for there to be an event because Canberra deserves it and Australia deserves a destination event given that we didn't have Dark Morpho event. Didn't have the Dark Morpho festival.
Yeah.
So, which is, you know, not to take anything away from the other festivals that are going on in Australia this year. But Canberra's a really central location.
Yeah.
And it's a great venue. And I think... you know, I'm really lucky to have the basso at my disposal, and I'm really lucky to have these awesome bands at my disposal.
Yeah. And it's, I feel like, it's got its own identity as well compared to the other ones that do exist, like Melbourne Death Fest, Storm Rider in Perth, and Steel Assassin. You know, there's all these different, and even the Canberra Metal Fest is a different vibe as well.
This one has a bit more of an experimental edge. Yeah,
and I think that's really cool. And I'll certainly be travelling up from Melbourne, and I hope a lot of people from Sydney and Melbourne make the trip because it's not very far.
No,
and you should get out of the house more often. And if you're further abroad, you should also make the trip because what else are you doing?
Indeed. Yeah. Please come along. Yeah. Make it worth your while.
And there's single day and 2 day tickets, is that correct?
That's right. So you can just buy a ticket to the Friday, it's 45, or a ticket to the Saturday, which is 65. Or we've done a really good deal for the weekend, which is just $90. So you get all of this for under $100. 24 bands, a lot of live music. 18 hours or something of live music?
Heaps.
Yeah.
Hotels aren't expensive in Canberra. Come on. Turn up.
Except when it's a sitting week. But yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know. It's a long weekend. It can't be.
No. You're absolutely right.
Awesome. Well, this quick chat is now 35 minutes, so let's call it there. But really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you. Edit as necessary.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Penso per